began as a dream. A group of young musicians from Alberta and the Canadian prairies banded together and began jamming in a Calgary basement. In less than a year, they became a European sensation. The group is known as Barrage. But who are they? And how did they become one of Calgary's and Canada's best-kept secrets? In the fall of 1997, Alberta musician Dean Marshall had the idea for a fiddle group like no other. He auditioned dozens of musicians from across North America, and after a short period of time, handpicked the 9 players who would go on to form the group. After the first practice sessions, a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity presented itself, a chance to perform live to millions. But it would mean traveling to Europe, an expensive and risky venture that would test both the musicianship and character of every member of the group.
A lot of time and a lot of money invested into this, and then if it doesn't happen, I think that'd probably be the biggest scare.
It takes a lot of effort, a lot more than I think any of us thought.
Being so young and all, you get a lot of people at gigs that come up to you and say, well, you know, you're not doing the right thing, and you really should be at home getting your education and all this, you know, and it's like, well, why should I go do what everybody else is doing when I can do this?
A performance is a performance, and you know, it's like people are there to be entertained, and so you give them the best that you possibly can.
I started playing when I was 4 years old, but I came from a musician family, so pretty much since I came out of my mom.
I just remember my dad making me a violin out of a ruler and a Raisin Bran box, and that's what I practiced on for about half a year until my fingers were, you know, big enough to play on a real instrument.
What I consider my job to be is to try to keep everything moving, and at the same time kind of put a little pizzazz into it of, you know, my own color.
You got to learn to deal with everybody's little intricacies, and you learn how to be diplomatic.
And I think it would be really interesting to the public, I know it would be to me, just to see what a group or any performer has to go through in order to try to make it in the music world.
There are different kinds of gigs, and this also pertains to what you might want to take along with you.
In the spring of 1998, the BBC, Britain's national broadcaster, invites Barrage to perform live for millions of viewers on The Blue Peter Show, one of Europe's last live entertainment programs.
Stage 1, itinerary.
Faced with the challenge of getting the group up to speed in such a short period of time, Dean Marshall and tour manager Tony Moore throw them into the fire, booking a 2-week tour through the Highlands and Outer Islands of Scotland, and then onto the streets of Paris and London.
We leave today, we arrive in Manchester.
See, what's interesting is these people have the chops, and that was all fine and dandy, but what was more important was the personality.
Musical director Dean Marshall on the formation of the group.
I put out the word across Canada and even into the States. I knew a lot of fiddle teachers that from doing workshops and that kind of thing.
Dean had handpicked the members for their musical ability, but was also careful to consider the personality factor and whether or not each player could adapt to the sometimes difficult life on the road.
Talking about different kinds of gigs. The Ceilidh is a very different kind of gig.
Members recall how they met 6 months earlier.
Didn't know what to make of each other, first of all. I mean, first impressions last a good few weeks before you get used to people.
I had actually quit playing violin for about 6.5 years. Basically, from Dean's phone call, I was kind of led to believe that these people were the best violin players in North America, and oh man, why the heck is he picking me? I suck. So I come in here and I see all these, well, kids basically. Everyone's so young, and they're just ripping on their violins. I'm thinking, man, oh, they're gonna hate me.
I had to pretend like I'm not intimidated, because otherwise, if people don't know me, they're gonna think I'm absolutely making mild.
Showed up at the church, went in the basement, and all 7 fiddlers were just staring at me. And it was just like, oh God. I hadn't played acoustic guitar in probably at least a year.
Denis, I was just like, wow, he's a super nice guy, great player. I'm gonna go stand by him. Because I felt comfortable next to him, and Josh was just super quiet, didn't say a word.
I was just, really scared. Dean was flipping through pages and, counting off insane tempos, and like it was nuts.
The first thing I noticed was, man, if this is the group, I'm finally the tallest.
And Bob, my first impression, I was scared.
I think, obviously just a little bit nervous too about meeting these new people and stuff, but I think right away, everything clicked.
The offer from Blue Peter, a show that once hosted the Rolling Stones, has moved up the group's first trip to Europe by over 6 months. The brief preparation time must not compromise the impact of the group's performance.
What Blue Peter is an entertainment show geared towards young people, which is live for 9 to 10 million people.
So in other words, we better not suck.
If there is an important gig, that's it, okay? It'll be an all-day affair. We'll do it right. The BBC, it's exciting. It's very exciting. That's a hardcore day. That could break the group in Europe.
Plans for the tour include creating the group's identity, and there is only one chance to make the right first impression.
This is a family-oriented show, okay? We're trying to make something that goes for everybody. What that means really is we would prefer not to have everybody come piling off the stage, start lighting up. Whoa, what'd you think about that awesome gig? Oh, drinking and smoking. And, there's a time and a place for every. I know, that's why I'm kind of looking at you and I'm saying. There's a time and a place for everything. Just be aware that the camera may be on you at all times, and just be aware of it. Okay? Don't forget your passports. Can't say that enough. People that are watching this show will be forming, hopefully, in the next couple of years, attractions to you guys, okay? They'll be seeing you guys as stars, as people they think they might have some connection with or something, all right? It doesn't mean you can't, be a couple. Of course you can be a couple. Just be aware that what you're doing on television, what you're doing in the media spotlight will really taint people's views of you. Okay, and you want to be as open book to the public as you can be. They don't want to know that you're 18 years old and madly attached to somebody. Not that that's wrong. It's just that is not what they want to see. I hope you all, I've talked to you about this, have your passports. I hope they're all valid. Do not forget them.
The scariest thing was, would people like us over there? What if they didn't? Where would we be?
You go over there and you do all that, and then if it doesn't happen, and you run out of money or something doesn't happen and the band falls apart.
With less than 5 hours to their departure for Europe, the troupe rushes off to pack, knowing full well that this trip will make or break the group. Life on the road means sacrificing many luxuries of home life. In certain cases, adjusting personal relationships to the long time apart.
In a sense, it's like I come back from tour and it's almost like we have to get to know each other again. So much has changed over like 2, 3, 4 months. It's really expensive to keep in touch on the road too. I mean, that's one thing. You got to give up money for the phone bill, definitely.
Had to give up a lot to come here, but it was a big decision and I decided to make it.
I've been living out of a suitcase for about 2 years. Like, you don't know where you're going to be even a month from now.
Financially, we certainly had a lot of money on the line. We put mortgages on houses. When that happens, you're hoping big time things are going to work out.
The 9-hour flight from Calgary to Manchester has left the group tired, but also excited to be somewhere completely new. Whether by plane, bus, or boat, travel is now a major factor to which the group is forced to adjust.
Oh my God, it's the new Beetle. Our group likes to take these interesting little adventures. We're in for a long haul, guys. We're gonna have ourselves a 15-hour bus trip. We've had a few of those, but we're not complaining.
That builds character.
En route to their first performance in Scotland, a question arises. Have the members had time to gel as a group before appearing before an audience steeped for centuries in traditional fiddle music? In the short time prior to Europe, Dean Marshall has put the group through rigorous rehearsals to tighten the music and strengthen the bonds between the players.
The group would not be the same if one person left. There's a kind of a bond built between us all, where if one person's playing a solo and really into it and gives another person kind of a crazy look or a grin or cross eyes or something, you seem to get more into it yourself, and before you know it, everybody's into it. And if you're missing one person, that vibe isn't there.
For the first little while, it was more like it's just kind of long, you know, seeing what other people had done, what bands they'd worked with, and what they'd done in their life.
Dean's hope for Barrage on this tour of Europe is to blend the different musical traditions they will encounter into something Barrage can call their own. Whether it be Celtic, Ukrainian, or klezmer music, Dean continues to challenge the group to keep up with their growing prowess as well as his own imagination.
St. Patrice is a traditional fiddle tune. Then I take it a little bit further. I use the main themes, but then I kind of explore with it a little bit in the music, mixing themes together.
Since Barrage is not signed to a record label, performing anywhere and everywhere is seen as a vital way of spreading their name, as well as paving the road for future tours.
We went to Aberdeen.
They're not shy over there either.
Oh yeah, the dancing?
Yeah. It's like...
We'd never... None of us had ever
I can't even explain.
done...
Well, you got it on tape. You can show it.
Yeah.
Go back. You come right in there.
Standing there, and next thing you know, you have two girls grabbing a guy or two guys grabbing a girl, flipping you around the dance floor.
You're running into people,
just
you're
having their
choosing
fun.
over toes. You learn pretty quick.
At their first stop in Aberdeen, Scotland, the troupe takes part in a traditional Scottish ceilidh. Despite their weariness from the flight, it becomes clear to the group that it will be a long night as the Scots play and dance well into the wee hours of the morning.
There was another band playing, and the drummer that was playing for this band used to play for the Queen. And I just remember having so much fun sitting right beside him, and he was tearing off all these licks. And he's this old guy. He'd like tear off a lick, and then he'd kind of like point to me like, you know, try it. So then I'd kind of trade licks back and forth. It was so much fun.
When it comes time for their performance, most of the group still suffer from jet lag. Their performance isn't as tight as they'd hoped. Dean knows that given the enormous cost of the trip, the group can't afford any lackluster shows. He hopes that once everyone has adjusted, the performances will have the fire he knows Barrage is capable of.
And here they were off the bus after traveling for almost 2 days. Then they had to do a concert, and they weren't quite up to snuff. And it was a pretty tough go, and obviously we do have to pull up our socks.
Still, there's some relief that they have one show under their belt. Next is the trip to the Shetland Islands, which is immediately jeopardized when their flights are canceled in a booking error. While the group gets 5 hours sleep, Tony struggles to rebook the flights without breaking their budget. When we return, Barrage comes face to face with the rigors of touring and confronts their toughest audiences to date.
Islands, wasn't it? Yeah.
That was pretty
The flight in there, the island's so small.
I thought we were dying.
They told us coming in, you got two choices. You can bounce off the water and land on the runway, or you can bounce off the runway and land in the water.
Tony pulls a rabbit out of a hat and charters 2 planes, one for the group and one for the equipment. The group has 5 shows in 3 days. Each gig is further away than the last. Time is the enemy.
Scott can help you out there. Sound stuff.
Okay, I don't know.
That is awesome.
This is it.
Dean hopes the group can learn from the Shetland fiddle players. He has booked them into small venues, including this local pub, a must-stop for many traveling musicians. The group plays alongside the Shetland Young Heritage, practitioners of traditional Shetland fiddle music.
You know, you're up on stage and you're playing, and you're just knowing that the majority of people out there probably play the fiddle, especially when we were playing our rigged ships, being that it is a Shetland tune. That one worried me. I didn't know if we should actually play that, because although it's a fun tune to play, they're going to be really looking at how we attempt to portray the Shetland style.
Feeling the group is ready, Dean bravely decides to arrange his own version of rigged ships. The gamble pays off, and it isn't long before this Shetland standard makes it into the group's diverse repertoire.
Well, it's about 6 o'clock in the morning, and I hear, bah, bah. I'm like, and now if you've ever heard a sheep, they sound unbelievably like humans doing bad sheep impressions. That's just what they sound like. So I'm thinking Josh is outside, you know, playing some practical joke. I'm like, funny guy, 6 in the morning. All right. I open up the door. No, Josh is sound asleep in the next room, and I still hear this bah, bah. I open up my window. We're on the middle of a sheep farm. There were sheep everywhere. You walk outside, your ears started bleeding because these sheep were bang so loud. It was crazy.
Clickaman, all right. Biggest gig for sure, you guys.
After 2 days and nights of island hopping, the sleep-deprived group turns their attention to their largest and final performance at the Clickaman Center in the Shetlands.
Well, the Shetland Islands got a little nuts. For me, anyhow, because I'm not used to being in that kind of an environment all the time. It's like these people, I have no idea how they survive. You know, they're partying till 5 or 6 in the morning. They get up at 8 and they go to work. And I'm going, I can't do this for one day. I was exhausted.
Okay, are we ready for today? Yep. Woo! All right.
As most in the group concur, moments of exhaustion are typically followed by bursts of energy and adrenaline leading up to a performance. With high standards born of generations of musicianship, tonight's audience will be watching the group with a keen eye. Despite their fatigue, Dean insists on a rigorous rehearsal.
Okay, I just want to
Shetlanders have a real incredible tradition of fiddle music in their culture. They really listen to what you're doing, and that's great in some respects, and it's kind of scary in other respects.
Can we write up a set list so that I don't have to listen for you yelling across to me?
write up a set list.
That would be great. Sometimes it can be pretty tough. Sometimes it can be pretty tiring, especially if you start to feel run down or start to feel sick.
The Clickaman Center, I lost my voice, and I had the flu so bad I thought I was going to pass out after every song, but you just keep playing.
Like, I bought this huge bottle of cough syrup, and I can remember walking into this theater, and my memory of it is kind of fuzzy, I think because I was just taking way too much.
Just, okay, we're going through the list here. I'm just going to go through the list.
And you guys, one more thing. If you get confused choreography-wise, just don't look around like you're confused. Just rock it out.
Wireless on, wireless on.
While the group enjoys the glow of the performance, their appearance on Blue Peter is put in jeopardy as the BBC shuffles its schedule. Tony and Dean decide not to tell the band until things with the BBC become clearer and keep the momentum going as they leave for Paris. When we return, Barrage hits the streets of Paris and find Parisian police aren't quite as friendly as the cops in Calgary. As management in Canada struggles to lock in the Blue Peter appearance, the group enjoys the luxurious Eurostar, blissfully unaware of the problem.
It's the most
Seats are
comfortable
so great.
moving device I've ever been on in my life.
I think they have to make it really comfortable because if you're traveling, you know, under the English Channel and there's how many millions of tons of water above you that could come crashing down at any moment, you need comfortable seats.
That was Scott's favorite part.
Romance has always hovered around the group, but in Paris, Dean notices new developments.
We saw some people hanging out together quite often, all the time, and you know, first we didn't think of anything of it, but then we saw, yeah, they definitely were forming couples. At first it really scared us. Not that we discouraged it. As everybody knows, couples sometimes break up. You know, that can cause many problems.
crowds over here, you know that they've got the energy in them, they just don't want to release it at the concert, you know? And then after they do. But in Canada, I guess that's a little bit of a difference, is they let you know what they're thinking.
Sur les toits, les girouettes tournent font coquettes avec le premier vent qui passe indifférent, nonchalant. Car le vent.
One of the things about Paris that we'll all remember was our accommodations.
The closest lodging to be found is a cramped hotel, almost 2 hours from downtown Paris. To pave the road for future performances, the group will play an early morning street performance, despite warnings that the French authorities may not respond favorably.
The police didn't seem to like the fact that we had electric amps set up and fiddles, lots of them. They really wanted to shut us down. They didn't know if people would really like us.
We thought it would be good footage to crank it up and get the crowd going and possibly get shut down by them.
All I know is that there was some police officers walking around screaming at us, and Tony came to the rescue because he's the only guy that can really speak French well. I tried to stay out of it, you know, go play my guitar someplace, just let the management deal with it.
Right there.
Hoping to get in about 20 minutes and, you know, getting shut down, arrested, something evil, something bad. We're such a happy band, we have to get into some kind of trouble.
The next thing we knew it was like Tony and the cop, and then the cop was smiling, and we played a few tunes, and they were loving it, and that was it.
And once we got going, they seemed to really like it. Like there was people dancing around us.
The chief of police loved us, and we ended up playing for what, like
an hour and a half or something.
And it was just awesome, so hot, and like people just kept gathering around, and right across from the big art gallery, and that was great.
There were
I really
kids
enjoyed
dancing,
that.
remember?
Yeah,
There was a
kids
bunch of kids
dancing.
dancing.
Merci beaucoup tout le monde. Nous sommes Barrage et on vient du Canada.
We can go and we can play the smallest little gig, and if the crowd is hopping and, you know, they're into the music and they're having a good time, it really gets us energized.
We're from Brazil and it's very different. We love you, so happy. And
Part of any tour is the downtime between performances. As the members of Barrage take this chance to explore Paris and to get to know each other better, they realize that if the tour and the Blue Peter show are successful, they will be spending even more time together.
It's interesting right now because the group dynamics change so much, especially with the couples. In some ways it can cause stress, in other ways I think it's good.
Because of the couples in this group, I don't know, it's just made a lot of things easier. Little things, you know, like worrying about who you're gonna sit with on the bus or who you're gonna eat supper with. Those components are just out of the picture, you just know.
In Canada, management's efforts to salvage the BBC gig have failed. There may be a second opportunity, but the group would have to wait in London for an extra 15 days. With few options left, Tony will have no choice but to share the bad news about their appearance on the Blue Peter show. Arriving in London, the group continues to explore areas that for most of them are completely new. Like any large group traveling abroad, Barrage has its share of technical problems, delays, and conflicts. And the issue of whether the group would be better off with a record company inevitably comes up.
No offense to record labels, I think we're better off not actually be signed to one. We have control over our sound, our image.
You know, as an independent artist, if you can get the cash or get the funding to produce whatever it is you're trying to produce, then automatically you're 2 steps ahead because A, you've already paid for the product, and B, you can start selling it to recover whatever costs that you might have incurred.
Record company gives you $1 million, well, that's pretty much a loan to say, okay, you go make your album, you perform your heart out, and hopefully you sell that amount of CDs, but you got to pay them back $1 million. Whereas if we make $1 million, that's ours, you know, which, trust me, that hasn't happened yet.
The advice we got from everybody was to hold out, hold out, hold out as long as possible. Do it on your own, you know, develop a little following, and this has been happening.
I come bearing gifts. Hey, you little bastard.
What's happened, you guys, is, well, good news and bad news. We'll think of it as good news. We've been postponed at the Blue Peter show.
Oh.
The good news is that we don't really have a lot of good singing voices right now. We would have to do Old Joe Clark. And, you know, it's really not the best thing to play right now, the condition of the troupe. So that's the good thing. The bad thing is that, you know, we can't do it right now. It's being postponed, it's not being canceled.
In the music business, obviously, as in other businesses, there's lots of disappointments. There's lots of things that'll come up, but then suddenly you don't get to do them or whatever. And you kind of get used to that. But yeah, that one was pretty big just because it did seem like it was such a cool thing, this live TV for millions of people.
It's like the big part of your tour isn't going to happen.
Having something canceled like that, it was more of a, oh, okay, you know, maybe we got to think about what we're doing here and think about, you know, maybe it's just not going to go anywhere.
With their chance of playing Blue Peter now pushed ahead an agonizing 2 weeks, the question is raised, does the group return home or do they stay in London and find engagements that will provide the much-needed revenue to sustain the tour? The group decides to stick it out. They play mostly small venues, but frequently enough to stay on the road. As a testament to their spirit, they play their hearts out, show after show.
matter how we feel before a show or during setup or anything, you know, we could all be just sick and dying. But it's like you get on stage, you get like a couple notes into a tune, and you're just instantly transported, and you know, everything's fine. You could be feeling like anything before, and you get into the show, and it takes you to a completely new level. Just a totally natural high.
It makes you forget about everything that's been going on, and you're very focused on the moment. You're very into whatever is happening at that moment.
Their numerous performances to foreign audiences begin to pay off. This 2-week break may have been the best thing for the group. The daunting wait for BBC makes the sales of CDs and tapes all the more important. Overcoming this setback has helped to align the group's common goals and has brought them closer together.
Let's all help take the gear back to the van. Thanks, you guys. Right on.
The months of practice, the lessons of the road, the long wait, and now the group faces the final test, a 2-minute live transmission on the BBC. When we come back, the moment of truth. The date for the group's appearance on the Blue Peter Show is set. There's no turning back now.
I don't mind going places, as long as you know where they are.
Dozens of busy technicians put the last-minute touches on a show that in 7 hours broadcasts to millions of viewers.
And we have a couple of dogs, and we have a couple of cats, and we have a tortoise. And we got you guys. Basically. So you normally get about between 4 and 5 million per episode. That's basically the way it is. And when at 5:35, it's just a case of us getting you back in your vans and wherever you can find.
Thanks, Stone.
Here with some fantastic fiddling is Barrage, or Barrage, or however you want to be pronounced. Barrage, as in garage. Right. When I saw the video and saw all the energy, I wanted you to come running in, so that's why we've got the steps here.
The group works for 6 hours, prepping the song, practicing their entrance, and fine-tuning every element of the performance, all for a 2.5-minute live transmission.
And then we do a run-through of the show about 3:45, and then transmissions live at 5:09 or 5:10 or something. Live as live can be.
If you can, if you play it out front towards cameras, so, and the people who are grouped around the microphones this side, if you could favour camera 2 as much as possible, and that side favour 3.
As the hour approaches, nervous energy grips each member of the group in different ways.
Yeah, we have to be dressed, and I'm assuming makeup and everything done.
We're too tired. It's from that crowd.
Oh, shave it off. Right. Oh, that pulled the hair right out of my... I'm losing power!
Excellent. Thank you.
So, Denis, you feel like fixing my hair?
Yeah, sure.
Okay. We're such good friends that he enjoys...
I love my cousin.
Yeah. I'm getting maybe a little excited. Except for I'm really afraid I'm gonna trip down those stairs.
Yeah, no kidding, man. I have to run down them so fast. Would call
Okay, stand by. Thank you.
Hi there.
Hello.
And with so much to fit in, we've had to actually come all the way up here to make room for all our guests.
Starting with the hottest new band from Canada. They're loud, they're fast, and they've got masses of energy. Here, Barrage.
Won't you like the preacher, sun breezed all over the plain? The only text he ever knew was how to jack the game. Round and round, don't you fly, round and round I say. You follow me 10,000 miles, hear my fiddle play.
In the end, the show is a smash success, both for the BBC and, more importantly, for Barrage. All that remains to be seen is whether this much-anticipated television appearance will guarantee a bigger profile on future overseas tours. Given all the obstacles to get there, was the trip worth it? The 8 months since the trip to Europe has seen immense changes within the group. Musically, the cycle begins again with the addition of 2 new members.
Came home from my job at Boston Pizza, making pizza, and there's a note on the counter to say, phone Dean Marshall, and I did.
The initiation was Dean went through all the tunes at high speed. It was sort of, okay, what do you know? Good, you know it? Okay, and then he'd count it in and off we went.
Still, other changes reflect commitment of a more personal nature. Denis and Lene are married in Sandpoint, Idaho.
You have a concept and you want to get some kind of image or musical idea across, and then to actually see it happen, it still boggles my mind today. It's very exciting.
With the next year already booked with appearances in Europe, the United States, and Canada, Barrage continues to wow the crowds, large and small alike. Those in the group are first to express surprise at their success.
I feel so lucky to be in this group with great people, great musicians, and getting paid to play music and travel the world. I mean, come on. How lucky is that?
Despite, or perhaps because of the risk and the sacrifice to make this musical vision a success, everyone involved has been part of a dream that continues to come true.